Possum Sausage Forge here. Tonight I've been working on a pair of dividers. It's a pair of 3-leaf dividers. The main body is forged out of wrought iron. I've already got those parts made, but now I'm forge welding spring steel tips onto the dividers. So I thought I'd do a short little video of doing a drop tong forge weld, putting the spring steel tips onto the wrought iron body. Just bear with me as it gets up to heat. It's already acting a little sticky in the forge. I've already got the scarfs forged out, and then I applied flux to both pieces. The body of the divider is roughly 3/8 square, and the high carbon steel or medium carbon that I'm using is from a garage door spring, so it's about 5/16 round stock. I think I'm going to go for it right here. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Look at it, find out where my scarves are laid down. Stuck. Just like that. I'll apply a little bit of flux on there, both sides of the joint. Now I don't like to rake it into the coals yet. That's just the first tack weld. So I'm going to break this coal up, this coke, as it's cold. I'll get that laying down nice in there. Get some coke raked back over the top. Now I can go in for a second heat. I'm not going to show you guys the full process, but I just thought I would film the drop tong weld, how I do it. Honestly, I couldn't really tell you word for word how I do it. It's just a matter of motion, being smooth. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So know where you're going. Be comfortable with the movement instead of rushing it, and you got to get this on right now. That's how you mess it up, or you'll weld it together and it's going to be like this, not like that. So just be slow but smooth. And I'm not saying slow like pull it out of the fire, look at it, study it, all that. But slow as in be relaxed. You pull it out of the fire, you look at it, give it a quick assessment, lay it down, drop the tong, set it. It all happens in about a second, but in your mind, it's a mind game. So just take your time to assess it and be intentional with your movements, and there's really nothing to it. Now I'm going to take my time getting this back up to heat because I wanted to heat through. I don't want to get to forge welding on the outside surfaces and it'd be cold in the middle, because that was just a tack weld. It might be welded through, it might not, I don't know. But stock of this size, I don't take the time to dress the scarves on the first weld or anything. All I want is to stick it. Looks like I'm up to temperature. Just let it soak there for a minute. I'll slow down the blower. Just let it soak in that heat. Now we'll go for the second weld. Now that weld, I was looking at squishing the pieces together, you know, really setting that weld and setting the scarves. It's swelled out on the sides, which is good because my next heat, I'll reflux it. We have these little, the pooling out of those scarves. You can kind of see it right there. So if I get this up to a welding heat again and then dress the sides, ideally it'll come into square and it'll get rid of that weld seam. But as of right now, that's a beautiful weld. It's set. That's good. I got good color throughout. It all looks good. So I give it a little flux. It doesn't take much. You just need just enough to get in there, and capillary action will take over. It really doesn't take much flux at all. In a perfect world, it would take no flux. But I know my fire is not a 100% neutral fire. Depends how fast I crank the blower. Depends on how the coal's packed in. But the big thing is knowing what I need to do to make sure I can reliably set a weld no matter what. So I know that if I take it easy with the blower, don't introduce too much oxygen, it might oxidize a little, but I know where that point is that I need to stop blowing or stop cranking the blower or slow down with the air. It's really just a feel thing. You got to do it. And then another thing too with the flux, I'm forge welding spring steel onto wrought iron. Wrought iron, as you know, has a very high forge welding temperature. Spring steel is a lot lower. Spring steel has carbon in it, which causes the oxidation process. So it's just easier to flux it. You know, you don't have to use flux to forge weld. You also don't need running shoes to run. But it's easier to run with running shoes than to run with work boots. This will be welding heat number 3. This is the same process that I use to forge weld the reins on the tongs I make. Except for that operation, it's mild steel to mild steel. But same drop tong method, same approach as far as setting the weld on the first heat. Reinforce the weld on the second heat and blend the scarves. And third heat is just to come down onto your weld seam and blend it all into one. So there it is, forge welded together. I can see a little bit of the scarf up here. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. Not really. I can see a little scarf there. Otherwise, I don't see a... There you can kind of see it on the camera, but I can't see it in person. That's just scale. That line you're seeing is scale. But I can't hardly see a weld seam at all in person. So I get this cleaned up, I'll flip it around and do the other end. This is for a 3-leaf divider. So you can see there's my center leaf. This piece has the 2 leaves. But once I get this piece forge welded on, and then once it's all ground and cleaned up, probably you won't hardly be able to see a weld seam at all. So that's how I do drop tong weld. It's really easy. I feel like a lot of people get it's a mind game. It plays with them. They get more scared of it than they should be. But slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Be intentional with your movements, but don't rush it. There's really not that much to it. It's just a different way of approaching the weld. Take care.